Hi team, thanks so much for joining us here at Color Space Hair. My name is Haley Reed and we are here at Salon Compass in Columbus, Ohio, and we will be going through a foilayage foil technique. And what's really great about this technique is it's super salon friendly. It's something I do in the salon all day, every day, and this is actually without using our back combing technique for ease of the guest at the shampoo bowl and for timing behind the chair. I'm gonna walk over and show you my lovely mannequin that's already pre-done. So this technique, like I said, is focused a lot around the hairline. So we're gonna be doing just a little bit of kind of baby lights, micro weaves around the hairline for a nice grow out for that guest. And then as we move through the hair, you can still see a lot of dimension throughout the color. And because it's a partial, we're actually leaving out a lot of the back. So we get a lot of dimensional color throughout. And what's nice is you still get that punch of color at the top, but still a ton of variation and gives you a nice blonding technique. So I hope that you guys will join me today as I walk you through this technique, and we're gonna go over and show you all of the products that we're gonna use to create this look today. All right, so today we're gonna be using the Lift Silver Powder Lightener, and what's amazing is this can lift up to 9 levels, and what's even more amazing is that the Lift powder is actually silver in tone, which could help to cancel out some of the unwanted NRP as we lift multiple levels in the hair. I will be mixing it with our 10 volume cream activate, and what's wonderful about this is it has shea butter for extra moisturizing properties. And then we also have our bond, and basically what I'm going to be using this for is that transition point between the new growth and mids and ends in a bowl by itself. Now, once it's been lifted to its appropriate level, I will be toning today. I'm going to go down here to our new glossing formula, which is our wheat formula. So this has 10 grams of 10.13, 10 grams of 10.3, and 20 grams of Zero Clear, and we're going to double the developer of 5 volume for 80 milliliters of 5 volume liquid, and that will give me a really creamy consistency to work with at the toning at the bowl. All right, so as you can see here, I already have the 10 volume in the bowl, and it's 60 milliliters because whenever we mix our Lift Powder Lightener, it's a 1:2 mixing ratio. Now, something that Lupe actually taught me is as we're mixing this product, we actually want to slowly add the product in with the powder when the liquid or the cream is already in the bowl. I'm not a baker, but I know that that's how you mix whenever you're baking any powder to liquid. So we're just gonna toss a little in. We're gonna set this aside, and now what we're gonna do is I'm actually gonna use my spatula today. I found that I get a very thicker, kind of more even consistency. The Unimix is amazing and wonderful. However, if you want a thicker consistency with your foil work, I'm finding that a spatula is one of my favorite ways to mix. So you can see that it's already starting to dissipate a little bit and starting to thicken up, but I wanna go ahead and add a little more of the powder in. We're gonna keep mixing and kind of folding that in. And you can start to see it thicken a little bit more. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put the remainder of product in the bowl. And what I'm finding is it just gives a really, really good consistency, and it's really great for painting in the foil. It prevents any slipping from happening, and it just gives it a nice creamy consistency for overall application and saturation of the hair. For here, I already have my pre-mixed bowl of just Bond by itself. What's wonderful about that is that this will actually be part of my application, and this is going to be my barrier between the new growth and my blending point of the highlights when I melt that into the hair with my foiling technique. Okay, we have our model Abby here today. She has our traditional 5-section partial foil. What's really amazing about this is it's very time efficient. You can see we have one section here on the side, one on the top, along her part line, And then as we move through the back, we have what's called the triangle of life. So it incorporates basically the top parietal and then the point of distribution right here. And as we move to her other side, we have her parietal also sectioned and connected here. And then you can see that it falls right along her part line. So now I'm moving to her hairline to create these baby light or microweave foils. So what I'm gonna do is actually turn, instead of going flat, turn it to go up, and I'm actually gonna do little zigzags along her hairline to create a really diffuse line, and I'm gonna try to get the foil as close as possible to her hairline for maximum blonding. So I'm gonna take my foil, push all those little baby hairs away, and you can see I get a really nice close application. Then I'm gonna start about 1/2 inch below her hairline, saturate as much hair as I can below that line, and then I'm gonna apply a little bit of extra and go vertical with my brush so I can actually lift and pull the hair away from the hairline, which gives me a really close feathered end result. And I see a hair join me, so I'm just gonna bring that right on it. And then with that fold, we're gonna do one fold, make sure that's even, another fold, a tight lock there, a tight fold there, and I'm actually gonna lock that in. Now I can see that that hair is not quite ready to join, so we'll get that one later. So now I'm starting on the last of the 3. I'm gonna just curve right with her hairline, get any remaining little baby hairs out of the way and foil those because those will not fit into the foilayage technique. So remember, I'm gonna go vertical with my weaving comb with the point facing down. I'm gonna completely over direct that hair. And I'm using a really tiny comb because I'm using a tiny space of hair. So that really helps with getting those detail work in and really secures my foil so I have plenty of space to work. So I'm gonna saturate all those mids and ends. It's really nice and saturated, and I just love how creamy this consistency is with the product. Get a little extra product, and then remember, I'm gonna lift and push that as close to the root area as possible. And look at how seamless that is. And if I see anything slip, I'll just push it even closer to the hairline. And then I wanna fold in the same direction, kind of tap that in. Do a fold with really light pressure, and I always fold at the very ends of each section to ensure that I don't over direct the hair, and then I'm just gonna use that to lock it in. All right, so now I'm moving to the front hairline section, and as you can see here, there is also quite a bit of little baby hairs. So what we're gonna do is just kind of comb that forward, and I'm using the tip of my comb just to get any excess little hairs away. This can definitely be a missed opportunity right here. So I definitely like to go through, carve out as many baby hairs as possible to get that really fine end result, using a pen zigzag motion to get that as close. So now you have an option. You can either color this or you can color this. And since she definitely has a lighter hair around the face, I'm actually gonna color this. So we're just gonna pull this away. And I think I'm actually gonna do that one more time because it still feels a little thick. Yeah, there we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace my foil. Fold that forward, over direct, push any foils down, make sure that's nice and secure. And then since you're working with such a tiny little space, I'm just gonna kind of push and apply, but still lift and still give some elevation to my foil, go in a vertical motion to get a nice kind of feathered end result. There we go, another fold. Now I'm gonna put a lot of pressure on those corners because I really need that to be nice and tight and lock that in. So you can see now that the foils are complete around the hairline. We have 3 in each of the subsections, 1, 2, 3, and you can see that how these hairs are kind of falling in our model's face. So I'm actually just going to move that to the side to make sure that it's easier for her to do her thing. And I've got 1, 2, 3 here, and then 1, 2, 3. So what's really great about this is it actually eliminates any missed opportunities and to make sure that she has a ton of impact around her face for the best blonde and a really soft grow out. So now we're going to move into our foilayage section, and as you notice, I'm actually using the color space brush with the weaving comb attachment already there. So all-in-one tool, which I'm actually very excited to use today. So I'm using about a 1/4 inch sections. We're going to clip that away. And then we're going to do a very kind of chunky weave effect. So by having that, it'll give me kind of that foilayage, very natural kind of balayage, chunkier feel without committing to a balayage. This guarantees I'm going to get more levels of lift and just a little bit of more impact of that blonde. Now what I'm going to do is now use my power paint brush with a little bit of that bond. So what that's going to do is I can prevent any of those hairs to hit the natural hair, and it gives me a little bit of a buffer line, because as we know, balayage tends to have a natural looking grow out for that lived in feel. And I'm going to fully saturate all the mids and ends. Roll that hair back and forth for full saturation, and then I'm going to reapply one more time, go once again vertical, and I'm going to just paint right into that bond section. So that will help to buffer the lift in that area, and it really helps with that softness, and I'll roll that one more time for full saturation. Now instead of folding my foil, what I'm going to do is just sandwich that right over top, and that's it. So it gives it a nice clean finish, and it still is out of the guest face. So now I'm actually going to drop that section on the top and incorporate all of that together, because now I can see that this might be a missed opportunity right here. So what I'm going to do is actually go in and kind of do like a pinwheel effect and end up at the part line as I'm moving through my sectioning. That way I can get as much of the hairline and start to break up the density of her hair. Now the goal is not to have foil, 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 but to leave a lot of negative space. We're leaving out the back, so I need to have some sort of transition point between the highlights on the top with the foilayage effect, and then leaving more of the natural negative space out, which is all of her natural hair. All right, so as you can see here, I've connected from the previous section to the new section, and I have a diagonal section. So basically that's just gonna fall forward. You can see with the way her haircut is, it angles short to long. And then I also have some previous pieces that I might not wanna pick up just to over lighten them. So I'll kind of be careful with that end result. So I'm gonna use my weaving comb and paint brush, just kind of weave out some of those darker strands. Remove some of that remaining density, and then I'm just going to pop my foil in here. And notice how my foil does not go all the way up to the hairline. So that's where I'm gonna use my blend power paint brush. I'm gonna apply the bond to that section, and basically all I'm coloring is the hair that's in the foil. So full saturation all through the middle, mid-lengths and ends. And notice this is quite a thicker section, so when I am applying my product, it is pretty saturated. So it's a lot on the brush, and I'm just rolling that back and forth to make sure I don't have a missed opportunity underneath, because that is the worst. You'll end up almost getting some dark shadows within the hair, and that will result in uneven lifts. So a good tip is to use your pintail, flip it around, and just make sure that you've got as much saturation as possible. And then I'm gonna flip my brush vertical, start that blend. We're going to sandwich that foil, and we are ready to move on. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this section, and you guys are just going to watch me as I get all the way up to the part line, and then we'll start on the other side and then move up to the part line.
So now that we've moved to the other side, I'm using the weaving comb brush to get that angled section with a strong weave effect, applying the bond with the power paint brush, keeping that at an angle. And as I apply the lightener, just kind of leaving out some of the over processed ends to make sure that I don't get that any lighter, saturating the mids and ends, and then feathering that into the bond section. As I'm saturating that, I then grab the foil for a sandwich placement, and I'm going to continue to do that up the side in that same pinwheel motion as I work up towards the part line.
Okay, so now that I've finished the front two sections, all I'm gonna do here is roll this back triangle, and I'm gonna work diagonally up the head in that pinwheel-like section, so I end up with the top still leaving a little bit of a natural veil of color over top, so her grow out is very seamless. So I'll do the first few for you, and you can see how that works. So we're gonna take our first diagonal section here, pin the rest of this hair away, weave out, and see how the diagonal is higher here and lower here. Basically, when I apply my bond, I'm gonna apply it in the same way, so I get a natural fall with the product itself. So I'll apply it, and then I'm gonna go down, so I have a higher peak here and a lower peak here. Okay, then I'm gonna take my lightener, the Lift Powder Lightener, apply fully saturated. On those mids and ends. Work that product back to back, side to side, rolling it to make sure I have full saturation. Reapply in a vertical motion and take that all the way up towards that peak. Dropping my elevation as I'm going down to mimic that diagonal line. And once that's saturated and I feel good, I'm going to sandwich that foil in the same diagonal placement. Now that I've reached the top of that triangle section, I'm applying the last application of this foil, applying the bond closest to the new growth and then still saturating the mids and ends with the Lift Powder Lightener and blending right at that line to give me a seamless grow out.
I'm keeping the saturation very heavy to ensure proper lift and sandwiching that foil. Now that the application is complete, I'm going back to the hairline to check the amount of lift that I got. And you can see here that she's achieved multiple levels of lift, and I'm actually going to use my stop liquid to spray to stop any further processing to prevent overlifting. And I'm just using a kind of dry to damp towel to ensure that I can get that fully saturated to stop those highlights from working. Using my gloves to remove any unwanted bleach lightener and fully saturating the stop spray liquid to ensure the product is stopped. Now that we got the lift to the desired end result, she is now at the shampoo bowl and we're applying our glossing formula. Now remember, that was 10 grams of 10.3, 10 grams of 10.13, 20 grams of Zero Clear, and 80 milliliters of 5 liquid developer. Now I've chose to use a bottle application to ensure a clean saturation between the mids and ends in the back, since those did not lift quite as light as the front. I always like to start in the back when I'm using my glossing formulas because that typically is going to be on the longest, and I'm just massaging the product in to ensure an even application. So when I'm working with this at the shampoo bowl, I'm making sure that the hair is damp, not wet, and I towel dry as vigorous as I can to make sure that that gets an even saturation of tone. Now, using the Color Space Zero Ammonia Free Color as a gloss, I'm getting a really nice kind of gel to cream consistency, and it's just working really nice and evenly throughout the hair. The glossing formula will stay on for a total of 5 minutes, and as you can see, since I'm applying at the back first, I'm leaving out the front sections, so that has the least amount of time. So I start my timing as soon as I'm done with the front, so that I'll have a total of 5 minutes, so the back might have closer to 7 minutes. I can't wait to show you the end result. Now we have Abby's hair complete. We have this full kind of golden, we had the beige in there with the 10.13. We had the 10.3, the Zero Clear with 5 liquid as her toner. And you can see with the placement that those little baby lights just really work really well right around her hairline and got all those little baby hairs. And then with the direction of everything being a diagonal, it goes kind of lighter, and you can see the shadow come in a little bit deeper here. And then we'll kind of spin her around so you can get the full look. Awesome.
Awesome. And then what is really nice is in through here, you can see that that color kind of cascades over, leaving a lot of negative space and dimensional color. So it doesn't look like it's over highlighted or oversaturated with blonde. But we still get that pop of blonde right around her face. All right, thank you guys so much for joining us here at Color Space Hair. Don't forget to join in every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific time to see more of our educators do amazing tips and tricks with our Color Space color line. Can't wait to see you soon.